Podcasts. Erin Burnett Outfront starts right now.
Outfront next, breaking news. Republicans vote against averting a government shutdown and suspending the nation's debt limit as President Biden sounds incredibly optimistic about his own party coming together to pass his agenda. But so few seem to share that optimism in his own party. Plus, he's one of the nation's top constitutional lawyers, and tonight he says Trump tried to stage a coup with a blueprint from a little-known lawyer. Harvard Law professor Lawrence Tribe is out front, and he's the expert on the nature preserve that investigators have been scouring for more than a week in the hopes of finding brine laundry. He thinks there's no way that laundry is still in the preserve. I'll tell you why. Let's go out front. And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, Biden's Rosey scenario, a scenario not shared tonight by key members of his own party. Right now, Democrats are locked in a stalemate that could kill the president's legislative agenda. President Biden, though, not letting that get him down.
You know me, I'm a born optimist. I think things are going to go well. I think we're going to get it done. And I have meetings tonight, tomorrow, and for the next little bit.
How would you define success legislatively by the end of this week?
Well, it may not be by the end of the week. I hope it's by the end of the week. But...
All right, here's the issue. Right now, progressives in the president's own party are holding his $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal hostage because they want to vote first on a $3.5 trillion spending plan. It's a massive price tag. The plan itself hasn't yet been finalized, but it says, or they say, it will include spending on, well, a whole lot of things, including free community college, free child care, expanded Medicare, a whole lot of things on climate change. And I'm just like the tip of the iceberg here. This is not a small thing in dollars, and it is a big change in the role of government in America. Yet progressives say they will kill the smaller bipartisan, I keep emphasizing that word, infrastructure bill if they don't get a vote first on this still unfinished massive spending package. Even the second-ranking Democrat in the Senate doesn't share Biden's optimism. Here's what Senator Dick Durbin said tonight when our Manu Raju asked him if he thinks an agreement on what the big bill will look like is possible by Pelosi's Thursday vote deadline.
I don't think anybody has a rosy scenario.
Well, Joe Biden does. But not yet another crucial Democratic vote. Senator Joe Manchin, he also does not share Biden's optimism.
That's a heavy lift. There's a lot to do and a lot to talk about. There's a lot in that bill, the 3.5, the reconciliation bill, tax codes, climate change, social reforms. There's a lot, and people need to know what's in it. So it's going to take a while.
By the way, it's an understatement to say there's a lot in that bill. By the way, it should take a while, right? People should understand what's in it, not be rushing to write it really fast and then pass it in the dead of the night. That's not right. But as of tonight, Pelosi is pushing ahead with a Thursday vote on that smaller bipartisan bill, even though the progressives in her party say that they're going to kill it if she does it first.
Let me just say we're going to pass the bill this week. I'm never bringing a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes.
So either the speaker believes progressives will cave, or she thinks people like Joe Manchin will quickly agree to the spending bill, which, well, he's made clear he's not going to agree to the $3.5 trillion price tag. This is not a rosy scenario for President Biden right now. But still, Biden summed it all up this way today.
We got three things to do: the debt ceiling, the continuing resolution, and the two pieces of legislation. If we do that, the country's going to be in great shape.
Just three things and the country's in great shape. Except moments ago, the country moved even further away from 1 and 2 on the president's list, Republicans blocking a vote on the debt ceiling and the continuing resolution to fund the government. Democrats needed 10 Republican votes, and they did not get that. The final tally, 48-50. And as for those two pieces of legislation, well, I just laid it out. And let's just back to Senator Durbin's words, it's not looking too rosy. Manu Raju is out front on Capitol Hill. Look, Manu, there's a lot here, right? Just even substantively, there's so much talk about process when really there's a lot of substance here that should be, the American people should be getting a lot of detail on that they haven't been given yet. Is there any clarity tonight, though, on how Pelosi's going to try to pull this off in terms of getting the bipartisan deal even over the finish line?
Well, the bipartisan deal is still moving forward for that Thursday vote. Democrats just wrapped up a caucus meeting on the House side of over an hour or so discussing their path forward. What's clear is that they plan to have that vote on Thursday still on that bill that passed the Senate along bipartisan lines last month. What's less clear is whether there'll be votes to actually approve it out of the House. Also, what's unclear, what will happen to that larger plan to expand the social safety net? That price tag initially was $3.5 trillion. But behind closed doors, Pelosi had told her members today that that number has not yet been agreed to, as Joe Biden is negotiating directly with senators about the way forward. Also, she indicated because of the Senate rules, it may be changed in certain ways, trying to warn her caucus that this could take some more time to get that larger bill through. Well, the problem facing Pelosi and the Democratic leaders are that progressives are threatening to sink that infrastructure bill if there is not at least some sort of commitment, a sign-off from the key Democratic senators over that larger plan. That couple of those senators, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema in particular, there's a push to get them to back some what this deal may ultimately look like. Now, when I caught up with Joe Manchin this evening about those threats, he pushed back.
Will that pressure you to vote to support the reconciliation bill? Their threat to hold up the infrastructure bill, will that be enough to pressure you to sign on to something?
I'm not really good on threats.
So he also made clear that he doesn't think it's really feasible to get a deal by Thursday ahead of that key vote here, Erin. So a lot of questions still remaining about getting the two factions on board to get this bipartisan deal through. The progressives are threatening could be more than 40 who vote to sink this come Thursday. We'll see if they ultimately stick to that. But that is the real threat here for her leadership. Can she keep the factions together? Can she get this through? Uncertain as of yet.
All right. Thank you very much, Manu Raju. And I want to go now to the Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer. He is co-chair of the Problem Solvers Caucus and a member of the House Financial Services Committee. So, Congressman, I'm glad to have you back. So here we are. You were at the Democratic Caucus meeting tonight. So as you walk out here and come to this camera, do you have a clear idea on how all this will move forward?
Well, this is what I know. First of all, we had a very productive session as the Democratic Party tonight. And I'll tell you, the big takeaway for me is that ultimately we're going to get both bills done. But first and foremost, this week we're going to vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And we talked about this a few days ago. This is an historic once-in-a-century package focused on roads, bridges, fighting climate change, fixing tunnels like the one I've got between New York and New Jersey, the Gateway Tunnel. There's so many things in here that are great for the country, 2 million jobs a year. And this week we're going to vote on it. We're going to get it done.
So you said, so you said you're going to vote on it, you're going to get it done. That's your feeling coming out of this meeting. That's good. That's the bipartisan infrastructure bill that you're referring to, right? And you said yesterday, I quote you, Congressman, I just don't buy at the end of the day that folks will vote against it. Of course, there are progressive members of your party who have said they will do that, right? If they don't get a guarantee on their much bigger plan. Have you had any conversations with progressives that have directly told you that they really will vote against it? Or do you feel confident that this vote on Thursday, they will all vote aye?
I think at the end of the day, and I stand by what I said yesterday, I don't know anyone who can go, any faction of the Democratic Party that can vote against the president's agenda, against 2 million jobs a year, hardworking men and women of labor, all of these infrastructure packages which are critical to the roads and bridges and tunnels in their districts and helping fight climate change. So I just don't think in the end that'll happen. But I do believe we have to keep working as we are around the clock, Erin, to your point, on reconciliation to make sure we keep advancing the ball there. We've made incredible progress. And I'll tell you right now that I'm behind getting something done on reconciliation. It's very important for the people I represent, whether you're talking about fighting climate change or reinstating the state and local tax deduction or SALT and getting taxes down or childcare. There's so much in there that's important. So that's why I believe at the end of the day that we're going to get both done. But you can't go in there and vote against. I just don't see people going in and voting against working men and women of labor and 2 million jobs a year and infrastructure. I just don't see that at the end of the day.
There are some things, though, you mentioned SALT. There are moderates like yourself who care about that. There are progressives who don't at all, to put it nicely. According to Politico's playbook, moderate Democrats are frustrated that President Biden has not done enough to pressure progressives and to call them. And the quote here that they had was, the president needs to pick up the phone and call people. A moderate source close to the talks told us. The person argued that the White House has been in listening mode for too long and needs to bang heads to get this vote over the finish line this week. So, Congressman, I know this is a tough question, but do you feel like President Biden is doing enough, or do you feel that he is somewhat afraid of the progressives?
I mean, he's made it pretty clear that he wants this bill to his desk immediately. He said that right after 69 senators voted for it, including Bernie Sanders.
I think we're talking about two different things. I'm sorry.
No. I just want to get the answer to that. Like, I know how much he wants this, and obviously I don't know all the phone calls he's making, but I'll tell you, I've spoken to the White House several times over the last days. I know how important it is to them, and they keep stressing that we get this done. And they, of course, care about both bills. They're both critically important to the president's agenda, including this one that we're going to vote on this week. So I have no doubt that they're going to keep pushing folks to get on board, because we all have to get there. But again, I've heard directly from all the people around the president and the president in the Oval Office last week of how important this bill is to him and to the country.
Okay, so one final question. Congressman Ro Khanna was just on CNN earlier tonight, and he said, we're going to respect and get behind our president. I think it's actually really hurtful to the Democratic Party that you don't have people showing the president respect. Of course, the progressives have driven the legislation for the larger package. What do you say to someone who might say, and I wasn't saying it to you personally, but that moderates like yourself are disrespecting the president right now?
I'm not sure I understand that. I've got to talk to Rose, a good friend, so I'll talk to him about that. I think it'd be very disrespectful to vote against the president's bipartisan infrastructure package this Thursday. That's why I really believe, and frankly, it'd be disrespectful to the country, given how much we need infrastructure. So we're going to get that done, and I think the best way we respect the country and respect everyone we represent is to work on both these packages and to keep making sure they both get across the finish line. I know I'm committed to that, and that's why, first and foremost, we got to get everyone behind this bipartisan bill on infrastructure investment, the historic largest infrastructure in a century. Let's get it done this week and make sure we keep working around the clock on reconciliation until that gets across the finish line too. But they're two separate pieces of legislation. We should look at them as such and keep working on them as such.
All right, Congressman, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Good to talk to you again. I want to go now to David Axelrod, former senior advisor to President Obama. Look, David, I understand where the congressman's saying from. He sees these as two separate things, and look, that the much smaller one that's ready to go is a bipartisan deal. He's right about all of that. But there are many in his party who do not see them as two separate things. They see them as part and parcel. You don't get one without the other. How do they get through this?
Yeah, there's no doubt. The word of the day is leverage. Everybody in a divided House, almost down the middle, and a divided Senate, exactly down the middle, understand they have leverage. And if Joe Manchin has taught them anything, it's that their votes are meaningful, and they're trying to leverage their votes for the best package that they can get. And this is a headache for the Speaker. It's a headache for the President, for Chuck Schumer. I wonder, Erin, whether Mitch McConnell hasn't unwittingly given them a little bit of a gift tonight by voting down the debt ceiling, because that's something that everybody recognizes has to get done. You can't destroy the full faith and credit of the U.S. Now it has to go through the reconciliation bill. It's going to take a week or two to incorporate that into the reconciliation bill. There are procedural reasons for that. And I wonder if this makes it more urgent for everyone to get behind a reconciliation bill, and B, whether it buys them a little bit of time.
Well, that's a really interesting point, a thoughtful analysis there. So, I do wonder, though, David, what you just make of the general point here of what progressives want, right? They want a vote. I mean, this is what they're saying. They want a vote on a massive spending bill that is transformational, right? Whether you agree with it or not, it is transformational. That's why they want it. That's why the people who don't want it don't. But they haven't even finished writing it and agreeing on it, and they want to force a vote on it before anything else. In some ways, that sounds quite toddler-esque, okay? I'll be honest. Why not more conversation here about the substance?
I think, again, the answer is leverage. They want to make sure that they get the best deal they can, and they know that there are people who may have a different view, Senator Manchin being one, on some of the elements of their package. Yep. And so they're holding that hostage. But look, at the end of the day, I think all Democrats understand that if these two bills go down, it's not just the president who's going to be damaged. It's going to be the Democratic Party. It would be disastrous for the party. So I think there's a lot of posturing going on. And I have no doubt that people feel strongly about what they're advocating for.
Yeah.
And by the way, on the bill itself, a lot of the things that you're talking about were the things that the president advocated for months and months and months ago.
That's
so.
true.
So the details have to be spelled out, but the essence of it has been out there for quite a while. I think they will get there. I don't think it's going to be a $3.5 trillion package. It's probably going to be in the twos, and they need some assurance from Manchin and Sinema that it's going to move forward. But this is the messy business of legislating, and it's going to be a hairy week. But I think the stakes are so large. I believe they're going to get there.
All right, David, thank you so much, as always, for your perspective.